Hello, my name is Bobby, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you the Workspace feature in ScriptRunner Connect. ScriptRunner Connect is our cloud-based integration platform that gives you the ability to write code to create unique and powerful integrations and connections between the tools in your software ecosystem. In ScriptRunner Connect, we have a number of features such as managed connections and managed API, but the one we're going to be focusing on particularly in this video is the Workspace feature, which is where you actually go and develop your solutions. So as you can see, I'm logged into ScriptRunner Connect here. If I go to the Workspace option in the menu, I have a number of workspaces or solutions that I've developed that are available to me. However, we're going to create a new one. When I select Create New and give it a name, I have two options here. One is currently unavailable, which is the Setup Guide version. This is a more streamlined view that gives users the ability to configure pre-existing templates in a more streamlined fashion, rather than getting into all of the details about the code when they don't need to. However, because we're talking about developing our own coded solution, we're going to use the advanced view, which has access to all of the features. When I click Create, we get taken through to the Workspace view. Here you can see it looks and feels a lot like an IDE. This is on purpose. You're going to be writing code. We want it to give you an environment that felt familiar. As we go through these features, some of them require a little bit more explanation, so there will be further videos explaining exactly how these features work. So environments is going to be the first one of those. There will be videos in the description of this YouTube video that you'll be able to go and reference to find out more about these features. But starting up in the top left, we have the Workspace selector, so you can easily switch between the workspaces that you're working on. Next is, as mentioned, environments. To give you the headline version, environments give you the ability to have multiple versions of your workspace pointed to different versions of tools. So for example, I may have two environments. One environment is my live environment that's pointed to the live versions of the products I'm integrating. The second is UAT, pointed to the UAT versions. What this allows you to do is create a managed release process in ScriptRunner Connect itself, so that if you create an integration and then need to make modifications in the future, you can make modifications safely in a UAT environment before promoting those to your live tools. Next, in the top right, we have Help and Support, which gives you links to additional information about ScriptRunner Connect and the ability to share your workspace with colleagues, members of your team. Under here, we have more menu options. Editing the workspace gives you the ability to modify information about your workspace and also change which team this workspace is applied to. Switching the scripting language. So it is important to note with ScriptRunner Connect, we use JavaScript and TypeScript as our coding languages. Whenever you create a workspace, it will default to TypeScript. However, if you would like to change that for personal preferences to either TypeScript strict or JavaScript, you have the option to do so here. And then Package Manager. For those unfamiliar, packages are pre-built libraries of code that have solved common challenges, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel when you're building your solution. There are three types of packages available: core, managed API, and third-party. The first two are ones that we, ScriptRunner, provide, and we'll go into more information about specifically the managed API shortly. Third-party packages, however, give you the ability to import any package, for example, from the NPM library that you would like to. It is important to note that we do have a specific runtime, and you can find more about it here, which means that not every package will work with ScriptRunner Connect, which is why we have a list of pre-verified packages that we have verified work well with our runtime. However, you can still import third-party packages and bring those in. They may work, as long as you verify they work with our runtime, you'll be able to bring those in and use them as you need. Finally, under this menu, there are two more options: Release and Deploy and Deployment Manager. These are both features related to the environment feature I mentioned earlier, give you the ability to create releases and deploy them to live, and then manage what version live is pointed at to in case you need to revert back for any reason. Again, these two buttons and the environments feature will be covered in a video in the description below, so make sure to watch that if you'd like to find out more. In the middle is the main screen. This is where you're going to be writing your code. This is where you're going to be doing any config. We'll see this in a second. And at the bottom is our console or debug log. This is where you're going to get live feedback from your scripts. Again, we'll see this in a second. Finally, but not least, is the Resource Manager. The Resource Manager is all of the components of your workspace listed out so that you can see what is involved in your particular solution. So first is README. README gives you the ability to write down information about your workspace, whether you're collaborating with others to create it, or maybe you've created it and now passing it on to someone else to manage. Any information that they would need to know, you can write in this README for people to review when they come to this workspace. Parameters give you the ability to define information that can then be referenced in scripts. So for example, if I'm going to be referencing a specific custom field in Jira that has a unique ID, and I'm going to be referencing it across multiple scripts, I want to go and create a parameter for that so that I can change it in one location if for whatever reason it was going to change. To do that, all I would need to do is click create parameter. I can leave it as type text. I can reference custom field ID and then give it a value. So the current value is, let's say, custom field _1. I can click create and save, and now I can reference that custom field ID variable in my code. I can show you how to do this in a second. One thing about parameters that is powerful is that it can, as you can reference it in your code, and as we have a number of parameter options here, including multiple choices, lists, passwords, etc., this means that you can reference parameters in your code and allow users to modify how your code functions based upon parameters without them actually having to write the code or look at the script. Next is scripts. This is pretty straightforward. This is where your code is going to be listed. API connections are the APIs that we're communicating with. So if I'm going to be creating an issue in Jira, I would want the Jira Cloud API to be listed here so I can interact with its REST API to generate that issue. And then there are 3 ways to execute scripts. We have manual execution. So if I quickly create a script here, you can see that there is a play button that allows me to press a button and have that script execute, which you'll see in the console log here that script is executed. Event listeners, which allow us to listen to events from different tools and execute scripts when we detect them. And schedule triggers, which is defining a script to run periodically, every day, every week, every second Tuesday of the month. Just to demonstrate the parameters feature, the parameters are stored under the context variable. So to access it, what I would need to do, let's console log it out, is context dot environment dot vars and then give the name custom field ID. So if I now run this, script, we can see that that value is output. It's also worth knowing the parameters are unique per environment. So if I was to go and create another environment where that custom field ID is different, I would create that parameter in the different environment, but the script wouldn't need to change when it is promoted through the environments. With API connections, it's really straightforward. You can select the tool that you want to create an API connection to, and then select the connector that you created when you went into the creation screen, or we have the option to create a new one from here in case you have the need to generate a new one. With event listeners, we have a number of tools and options here. Every tool or logo you see here means that we have the guided setup instructions on how to create an event listener in that tool, whether it be webhooks or any other method of creating a listener. We do also have the generic option, which gives you the ability to listen to any tool as long as it has the ability to send data to a URL. All of these listeners, what they will do is generate a URL and have a script that is tied to it. So when data is received at that URL, it executes that script. With the tools that we support, that data is usually managed. For example, if we were to create a Jira Cloud listener and say that I want to listen for when an issue is created, we now know what data package you're going to be receiving. So in the script that is generated for this, we can map it onto the issue created event so that to access the information about the issue that was created, all I need to do is do event dot, and I can get issue.fields.summary or subtasks really easily and really quickly. Schedule triggers gives you the ability to define a schedule. So here we have the ability to define a schedule in either human readable format, which gives you options in monthly, weekly, minutes, hourly, or daily. Or you can use cron, which gives you the ability to define a cron expression if that's what you're more familiar with in terms of how frequently you want the script to run. And then you select the script that you would like to execute, or you can create a new one at this point. Finally, The managed API is another one of these features that we will have more information on in another video, but just to give you a very quick look, once I've defined my connector I'm going to be communicating with, what I can then do is go to the editor, and in the editor we have more buttons up here. Starting from the right to the left, we have display the keyboard shortcuts that are available to us in the editor that we're using. So Control and Space is a particularly useful one for contextual suggestions. I'll show you that in 2 seconds. Renaming the script, importing an API connection, saving changes, and running the script. In this one, we're going to be importing the API connection. So I'm importing that connection that I just defined in my resource tree, resource manager, under the variable name Jira Cloud. This will add an import statement at the top of your script. And then to access the managed API, I can type Jira Cloud dot and have full access to Jira Cloud's API endpoints listed out here. So for example, issue dot get issue. As mentioned before, when I press Control and Space, I get contextual suggestions, which helps me build these API calls out to the full extent. As mentioned again, just to reiterate, there will be a video in the description going through more details about the managed API, how it works, how you can make the most of it, how it makes your life easier, and some tips and tricks around that as well. But that covers the Workspace view, all of the functionality and features that are available to you to give you the ability to create custom and unique, powerful integrations. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.